The scream never made it past the cold November air. By the time neighbors opened their windows, the street was silent again, so silent that the city itself seemed to hold its breath. When police arrived minutes later, all they found was a trail of blood leading to a locked apartment, a shattered watch still ticking on the floor, and a message smeared onto the wall. "He sees everything." It was the kind of scene that doesn't just frighten a community, it infects it. This was the murder case that would shake an entire city. The case that still haunts investigators. The kind of true crime mystery that Dark Case Files was made for. The city was Northwood, a quiet place known for its tree-lined streets, small cafes, and the illusion of safety that made people leave their doors unlocked. The victim was 28-year-old Claire Whitmore, a graphic designer with no known enemies, no criminal history, and a life so ordinary it almost felt staged. Her neighbors described her as calm, polite, the type you'd never expect to appear in a dark case file. She lived alone on the 4th floor of the Alderstone Apartments, a building that had its own history of unusual noise complaints, arguments in the hallways, and an elevator that seemed to break at all the wrong times. Still, murder wasn't something the residents ever imagined would seep into their lives. Claire's last known movements were captured on a grainy security camera, the kind that always seems to blur at the exact moment it matters. At 8:47 p.m., she entered the building carrying grocery bags. At 9:03 p.m., the elevator doors opened on her floor. She stepped out, turned left, and vanished off the edge of the camera's frame. According to the timestamp, she should have entered her apartment at 9:04, but police believe the attack occurred at 9:12. That 8-minute gap would become one of the most troubling mysteries in the investigation. Her neighbors recall hearing a sharp crash, followed by what some described as a wet thud, a sound investigators interpreted as a body hitting the floor. But what made the situation more disturbing was the lack of immediate noise afterward. No struggle, no shouting. No desperate pounding on doors. Just a single muffled cry swallowed by the corridor. It was almost as if the killer knew exactly how much noise could escape those thin apartment walls and adjusted their every move to remain undetected. When officers forced the door open, the living room lights were still on. Claire's phone rested neatly on the dining table. The TV was playing a muted documentary on cold cases. And the groceries she had purchased, pasta, vegetables, and a small bottle of wine were still placed by the door. Nothing seemed out of place, nothing seemed stolen, and yet something felt fundamentally wrong. A vase was broken. The curtains were torn. A single red thread, long and thick, was stuck to the lock of the balcony door. And then there was the message on the wall, blood-written, shaking, uneven. "He sees everything." The medical examiner found that Claire died from deep lacerations to the neck clean, controlled cuts made with a blade sharp enough to be used in professional environments. But there were no signs of forced entry. No defensive wounds. No fingerprints. Nothing that would normally lead investigators toward a clear suspect. It was as if the killer appeared and disappeared like a ghost, leaving behind only clues that felt intentionally misleading. A signature, perhaps, or a warning. The deeper investigators dug, the darker the story became. Claire had filed a noise complaint 2 weeks earlier against a tenant named Marcus Hawley, a reclusive man in his mid-30s who rarely interacted with anyone. He worked night shifts as a security guard, had a quiet demeanor, and lived in the apartment directly across from Claire's. When police questioned him, Marcus claimed he was at work during the time of the murder. His alibi seemed solid until it wasn't. Security footage from his workplace revealed something strange. A 13-minute gap in the recordings. 13 minutes where Marcus didn't appear anywhere on camera. 13 minutes he could not fully explain. And the crime scene was exactly a 30-minute walk from his job. But Marcus wasn't the only person of interest. Claire's ex-boyfriend, Daniel Rhodes, became an immediate suspect when investigators learned about their recent breakup. He had a history of controlling behavior and had sent Claire a sequence of unsettling messages months earlier. Yet Daniel insisted he hadn't spoken to her in weeks, and phone records initially backed up his claim. That is, until a technician discovered a deleted call made from Daniel's phone to Claire's number just 4 days before the murder. At 3:14 a.m. Why call your ex in the middle of the night unless something was wrong? or unless something darker was brewing. Then came the most chilling discovery. Claire kept a journal, handwritten notes, sketches, daily thoughts. And buried within the pages, detectives found a sentence repeated multiple times across several entries. "The man in the hallway is watching me." She described hearing footsteps outside her door every night, a shadow lingering under the frame, knocks that stopped the moment she approached, and strange whispers drifting through the vents. Claire believed she was being watched, observed by someone who never wanted to be seen. The true crime community erupted when these details were released, calling it a textbook stalker case, but detectives were not convinced. The behavior seemed too calculated, too theatrical, almost like the killer wanted the police to think it was a stalker all along. As investigators continued searching the apartment, they found something else. A second message, hidden behind a ripped piece of wallpaper in the hallway. This one wasn't written in blood, it was carved, scratched in deep, frantic lines. It said, "You didn't listen." The words sent a wave of discomfort through the team. Who didn't listen? Claire? The police? The building? Or the entire city? The case rapidly spiraled into one of Northwood's largest investigations. The media labeled it the Alderstone Shadow Case. Citizens demanded answers. Fear eclipsed routine. Nighttime streets emptied. Residents triple-locked their doors. And still, no arrests were made. Every time a lead appeared, it dissolved. Every time a suspect seemed promising, new evidence contradicted it. Claire's life, once seemingly simple, became a puzzle filled with hidden corners. Her friends mentioned she had become distant weeks before her death. She canceled plans, avoided walking home alone, double-checked doors. Something had frightened her. But whatever it was, she never wrote it explicitly. Instead, she left fragments of fear scattered across her journal in a way that made investigators wonder whether she suspected her killer long before they arrived. And yet she never identified a name. Only the same phrase, "the man in the hallway." Detectives pushed deeper into Claire's final days, hoping the smallest detail would unravel the truth. Her phone logs revealed a disturbing pattern. Several late-night calls to a prepaid number registered only weeks before her death. The final call lasted 19 seconds, no words, just a slow, controlled breathing that investigators believed belonged to a man. Tower data placed the phone inside the Alderstone apartments, meaning Claire wasn't reaching out for outside help. She was trying to speak to someone already in the building. The forensic team then examined the thick red thread found near the balcony door. It matched a type of uniform produced exclusively for a local security firm, the same firm employing Marcus Hall. This alone wasn't proof of guilt, but when detectives searched Marcus's apartment again, they uncovered something impossible to ignore: a sketchbook hidden behind storage boxes. Page after page contained detailed drawings of the Alderstone hallways, every floor, every doorway. And on one page, the fourth floor, a hooded figure stood facing Claire's apartment. The date noted beneath the drawing matched the night she died. When confronted, Marcus maintained a calm, almost detached demeanor. He claimed the sketches were merely art practice, insisting they held no connection to Claire. Yet investigators felt something off in his stillness, as if the absence of emotion itself was a deliberate mask. Then a new witness emerged. Miss Dallery, an elderly tenant, reported seeing someone near Claire's balcony that night. Someone taller than Marcus, moving with a precision she described as too smooth to be ordinary. Her statement shattered the investigation's direction. If true, Marcus might not have been the predator, but another potential target. Which raised a darker possibility. Was the real killer someone who knew the building better than anyone? Someone who could move unseen? Someone still watching? This has been Dark Case Files. If you want more true crime mysteries just like this, subscribe and step deeper into the dark.